Hey nerds, we are going to do a review and breakdown of And Just Like That, Season 3, Episode 11, starting now. Welcome back to the Nerd Social. I am Colin. So, the title of episode 11 is Forget About the Boy. It is written by Michael Patrick King and Susan Fales-Hill, and it is directed by Michael Patrick King. Spoiler-free log line of this episode is Carrie contemplates the ending of her book and her own story. Charlotte navigates complicated feelings around Rock's school musical. So, spoiler-free thoughts about this episode is this is the first time I felt that they are running on fumes with the writing. I said last week that I had a feeling the show will limp towards the end, and it certainly feels that way with episode 11, and also with the announcement that they are going to end it with season 3. Now, I've heard some things online that said Sarah Jessica Parker is trying to pitch a new show or the continuation of the series to other streaming companies. We're not really sure how that's going to play out, or whether or not it's just a rumor to just put it out there, or maybe her camp just put it out there. Who knows? But it'll be very interesting to see what will happen after episode 12 airs. Going back to episode 11, Carrie's apartment is a metaphor for the show that you really cannot go home again. However, like I said last week, the writers and producers should have grounded the show in something familiar to Sex and the City, like the monologuing that Carrie does, the laptop writing finishing Carrie's thoughts, and the group brunch. All of these parts are not done consistently enough. It was done in episode 9 toward the end, and they just dropped that. And I just don't understand why they didn't just go with that consistency of it throughout the whole 3-season run. And I think that's why Sarah Jessica Parker is frustrated, because I think that's why she really wants the creative control, because she wants to ground the Carrie character back to what she's familiar with. With Lisa and Seema, they are not really writing them well enough to wrap up their stories. They definitely wrote it so that there might have been a continuation of the series, but since they're not going to continue this series, I just have a feeling that their stories are not going to end very well. And then finally, there's more Miranda and Charlotte in this episode, which is good, but hopefully they also wrap it up nicely for those two. But I sincerely doubt that as well, because I think that they just want to get it done with all the other characters, but then resolve some things for Carrie so that she can have some type of ending that is good for this 3-season run. So in terms of rating, I would give this episode a 7 out of 10, which is Dinner Party. I really hope that they can wrap up all the storylines in a meaningful way, because this episode just opens up more questions than answers, when they should have provided some answers already if they are going to end the series. To me, I don't think they wanted to end the series, but maybe because HBO in the background said, hey, we're ending it because of ratings, because of fan reaction to it, and Sarah Jessica Parker wanted to get out in front of it, and that's why they wanted to end the series the way they wanted to. So those are my spoiler-free thoughts on this episode. If you like what I have to say about And Just Like That season 3 and other content we put out there, please like, share, and subscribe for more. We really appreciate your support, and we are growing very rapidly as a channel. We also have a website called thenerdsocial.org, where we do reviews and analysis from many of our other contributors. So without further ado, spoilers are ahead for And Just Like That season 3, episode 11. Okay. So we start off with Carrie going to see her publisher, Amanda, and she has this idea of where's the book going, because she says that the book is a romantic tragedy. And so definitely Carrie doesn't agree with it. And she was wondering why, because Amanda was saying, this is really great. Where's the last chapter? And so Carrie said, this is the end. And Amanda said, what's going on here? I thought that there's going to be more. Has to have some sort of happy ending, right? So it may be a metaphor to Carrie that you're not going to get the happy ending, because Again, Big is gone, Aiden is gone, and it just reminds me of what Charlotte said back in the Sex and the City days, that you only get a couple of shots at this. And so maybe Carrie is resigned at the fact that she is going to only get these 2 shots, and then that's it. She's probably going to stay single forever. Now, in the episode 12 trailer, there is a guy that Charlotte tries to set her up with, but I don't know if that's going to go anywhere. And to me, she already had her shot. So I am not sure as to whether or not Aiden is going to come back into the picture anytime soon, or there's going to be some type of special cameo from one of the episodes from Sex and the City. I don't think that's going to happen either. So it may be where she ends up next episode is staying single. As for Miranda, she is hosting a Thanksgiving dinner at her apartment and then invites the baby mama, Mia, to come. And that really pisses off Brady to no avail. Now, I don't know how that's going to play out in this final episode, because whether or not we're going to see Miranda see her grandchild, I am not sure, because I don't think that Mia was that far along for her to give birth. I don't know what's going to happen with that. That's why I'm very concerned that it might be unresolved. Charlotte, on the other hand, says it might be a good idea to go to Miranda's, but Harry has some disagreement because Harry wants football. There's a nice little line that he said in the episode where instead of football, he's going to get NPR in the stuffing. And he also was making a lot of penile jokes at this point. This is why Harry is such a great guy, is that he was very vulnerable to Charlotte here, because he was saying that the cancer really affected him very greatly, and that his motivation to keep going was to make it to Thanksgiving dinner where Charlotte was going to prepare during this time. Now, I also noticed, and I made this comment to my wife, that they're probably still in the same apartment as during Charlotte's divorce from Trey. So this is probably the same apartment that they've been in all throughout the whole run, which I find very fascinating. As for Herbert, he is really in a very depressive state because he lost the election for city comptroller. Now, as I said, they really did not do a good job of bringing the campaign into focus. I said it about 2 reviews ago. They should have done a little bit more research on how campaigns work. They just did it on a surface level, and that's not really authentic in a lot of ways. Now, Lisa's trying her best to console them, but I think that Herbert was really affected by what his mother said about his election loss. And Lisa, on the other hand, we don't see Marion anymore. So I don't know what happened to him. They just dropped it and then focused on Herbert for these last 2 episodes. It's so weird to me that there's no consistency in the writing of Lisa, but also Seema, which we'll get to later on. This is also a scene where their son Henry and Rock, which is Charlotte's daughter, performed in their high school production of Thoroughly Modern Millie. And so with Rock's transition, Charlotte was able to see Rock's costume, in which she had a lead role in the musical, and it made Charlotte very emotional, that the fact that Rock is transitioning. And also she wanted a picture of Rock performing, but Rock insisted that she should not take pictures of her. So that's why Charlotte asked Carrie to do that instead. As for Seema, Adam actually wants Seema to meet his sister. Now, again, this feels as though there's going to be some unresolved things at the end of episode 12, because there's only 1 episode left. They might not even address it anymore, which will not sit well for me, because I think that Seema does have a lot of potential. And obviously, she was a replacement for Samantha. But the problem with Seema is that the character is written in a way where it's not as snarky, it's not as sharp as Samantha was written. And I think that's a very big disservice to the character, because Seema is a very interesting character. She's older, she's South Asian, and South Asians have a lot of traditions that play here, and also arranged marriages. They only explored that one time with the Diwali celebration. I think that was back in season 2. I just wish that they would have explored Seema life a lot more. I don't think that she can match Samantha. That's not what I would want them to do. But I think that they could have written her in a way where it would have been much more interesting. And I think that's where the writing is lacking with not only Seema, but with Lisa as well. So Seema here in this bar then suggests to Carrie to buy her apartment as an investment. The old apartment that you saw in Sex and the City, the Last Supper that was done in season 2. Carrie's having second thoughts about it because she was explaining to Seema that the apartment is different now. There's a person that's living down there, Lisette, and it leads to Carrie going to see the apartment later on. Lisette had invited Carrie to come to her party because it just so happened that Carrie was walking by and Lisette bumped into her. And that was a setup for later on in this episode. As for Anthony, he accepts Giuseppe's marriage proposal, but later has doubts as to how this is going to transpire. I don't think that the doubts were because of Giuseppe's mother. I think that he just feels very insecure about letting go of his independence and letting go of a part of himself. I don't think it had to do with Stanford at all. And again, I don't know if this is going to be resolved in a very good way in the next episode. Again, they have a lot of things to do with only one episode left. This is actually a part where she was having the conversation with Lisette, and Lisette invited her to come to the old apartment because at this point, Carrie was waxing nostalgic about the life that she was living during the Sex and the City days. And also Seema was telling her, do you miss all those idiosyncrasies, moments in that place? And Carrie was saying, no, I really did enjoy those moments. And there are definitely plenty of iconic moments that were from Sex and the City that she should remember from that time. But it turns out that when she does visit her old apartment, she finds out that Lisette split the place up for another roommate. And so they had a wall that was in between. He was hosting friends in the kitchen and in the living room area, whereas Lisette basically has the bedroom and the closet, of course. And so Lisette was okay with splitting that up with a wall. And so it made Carrie realize, as I said in the spoiler-free part, that you can't really go home again. It's very different because the generation is different. The living condition is very different. I mentioned to my wife that my parents' neighbors bought the house from this old couple that passed away. This old couple had a garage where the car would go down. But then what happened was when this new family bought the house, they shut off all access to the garage and built a deck above it. So it's a completely different home that this new family built. And then finally, Carrie returns home and starts writing an epilogue to her novel. She then finally comes to some realization that she has to give some sort of happy ending to the character that's in her book. But whether or not Carrie does get her happy ending, I am not as optimistic that's going to be the case. I predict that she's going to stay single because of what has happened. The story of Carrie Bradshaw may not end with episode 12 on HBO. It may end on other streaming platforms. So that's my review and breakdown of And Just Like That season 3, episode 11. Tell us what you think about this episode by commenting down below. Like, share, and subscribe for more content like this. And we will see you next video. All right. Take care, everybody.